Welcome back to Sunday Vibes 1 and it's me, Chris and Pat back in the pub to answer your questions. The first one was sent in by Spurs on, he says, 3 biggest signings so far in the top 6, ? Presume, because it is a Tottenham fan, he is leaning towards Tanguy Ndombele. Pat has a problem with how I pronounce his name. How's it meant to be pronounced?
Lazy.
How's it meant to be pronounced? Tongi Ndombele to Tottenham. Is it the best signing so far this window?
Probably.
And has anyone told him he's pronouncing his own name wrong? And it is definitely Tanguy.
Yeah.
It's not Tanguy.
Have a word of yourself, Tongi.
How can it possibly be Tanguy?
Okay, so is he the best signing?
Yeah, I think so. Like the combination of price and quality is pretty remarkable there. Like I mean, Barca paid more for De Jong, and Ndombele should really have been going to Real Madrid or something this season, or Man City. To me, he seemed like a perfect fit for one of those clubs. And somehow everything has fallen perfectly for Spurs to get him. You know, Man United not being in the Champions League, Chelsea having a transfer ban, Real Madrid being stupid, like Man City deciding they wanted Rodri, who is, to be fair, a slightly more technical player. And it's just all worked out perfectly for them. If you could have picked one player who would have been ideal for Spurs to sign this summer, it would be him, and they've signed him for what I think to be a pretty reasonable fee.
It's absolutely baffling that there's other top clubs out there who had exactly the same needs as Tottenham, and Tottenham have managed to pip them to the post, and also that they might be securing Giovanni Lo Celso. Rumours from local papers in Betis that they've already agreed personal terms. Not quite sure how that works if they've not agreed a fee. Tappingup.com. However, desperate to play under Pochettino, and if their midfield pivot is Lo Celso and Ndombele, 2 players we've been touting for pretty much every top club for the past 2 years, then they've just had a worldy summer. That's 3rd secured.
I refuse to believe they're going to bring in Ndombele and Lo Celso. I only see them bringing in Lo Celso if they lose Eriksen. I just can't believe that they've got that much money to play with in the bank.
Well,
I know they haven't
because they need other things.
Yeah, I know they haven't spent for the last 2 seasons, but they've overspent by 500 million on a stadium. Like they've still put $1 billion into
what this may mean
stadium.
is they sell Trippier for £30 million, and Kyle Walker-Peters is the first choice right back next season.
Or Serge
and they just
Aurier.
accept that flank, Serge Aurier as well, is going to be much more vulnerable than ever before.
They're linked with selling Trippier and Danny Rose, and then bringing in Ryan Sessegnon, who is clearly not a fullback. He's certainly not a Premier League quality fullback, and I think his future is probably on the wing. But they need a forward, man. Like they do desperately need somebody to back up Kane up front. Like because you can't say, oh well, Son's the backup to Kane when Son is also starting every game in a wide position. Like they need to reinforce that. And of course, like whilst it may be less appealing for him to leave Spurs now than it had been previously, like Toby Alderweireld as well could just leave. Somebody could just come in and pay his release and he could go. Like Liverpool could say, oh God, what if Van Dijk gets injured? Tell you what, 25 million for Alderweireld. And I think that if I were Spurs, I would probably be looking at getting a centre-back as well.
Yeah, but the trouble is that was such a glaring hole for them last season, like that central midfield chasm. That it's almost like a bit of a PR thing. I think as much as anything else, like we have to get centre mids in, so we're going to go out there and get 2 of the hottest properties on the market and state our intentions.
I mean, they've addressed problem number 1, haven't they? Which is a great start, but it's not like centre back and a backup centre forward are too far behind, and it feels like they're spending all their money on these guys, and it's going to be more stopgaps for another year in those other positions that we've mentioned, which might cost them competing for the Premier League title. Tanguy and Ndombele's story is absolutely incredible. Dropped from Gangomp's youth academy. I think he was playing 5th division French football, not too long ago, and then of course he went to Amiens, and then Amiens to Lyon, and now he's secured a £65 million, or is it 53 initially? I think with add-ons. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's about 65.
I think it's 53, and now he's playing for Tottenham after only 2 years. Experience of top flight football. It's an incredible story.
Where does he fit into that Tottenham team? Does he play alongside Sissoko? Let's say Giovanni Lo Celso doesn't join to start with, because he's like, I've seen a lot of Spurs fans saying, oh, finally we've got our Moussa Dembele replacement. He's not alike to Moussa Dembele in that respect of being
in some ways he is.
But in terms, would you say he's
like, he's not as dribbly? I think he was
he's not
one less dribble per 90, but his key passes were a little bit better than than Moussa Dembele. He's probably a better passer.
He's a bit more technical, isn't he?
He's probably
From
a
whenever I've
quicker
seen
ball
him.
progressor.
Like when I watched him against Manchester City, I didn't watch much Lyon last season, but when I watched him against Manchester City, he was way more technical than a Moussa Dembele.
I thought Moussa Dembele was an amazing technical player. Like Moussa Dembele was one of the best passing ball progressors like in the Premier League, like during his last few seasons with Spurs. Like he was really good there and underrated there. But Ndombele is much more, I'd say, much more attack-minded. Like this season, it was a couple of dribbles completed a game. Like, but the season before it was 3, which is Moussa Dembele level. And he's going to do a lot of defending and do a lot of dribbling, which is basically what Moussa Dembele did. I think, to be honest, like he's just the kind of player who can solve a lot of problems. Like if they keep Eriksen, you can imagine him playing in a 3-man mid and like him being the shuttler and Eriksen playing in front of him. But you could imagine as well in the easier games playing him in midfield with somebody like Winks and not really bothering with like an out-and-out defender in the middle of the park.
I think his defensive contributions were around like 2.5 to 3, weren't they? Which isn't massive. Which it suggests he's going to chip in to a decent extent. But 7 assists. I can't remember Moussa Dembele ever getting 7 assists in a season, which Ndombele did last year. So I think he's going to be much more proactive in the final third. When I say better passer, I think he's got a wider range of passing from what I've seen, like the ability to unlock a defence with a cute little ball from the edge of the box.
Yeah,
which,
I never used to
Moussa
associate
Dembele,
But would you have him
didn't
do that?
necessarily have.
If you've got Eriksen and Ali, would you want Ndombele doing that?
Well, this brings us to the question: like, is Christian Eriksen going to stay? Does the rest of their summer ambitions, bringing in Lo Celso, is it dependent on getting a hefty fee for Eriksen? Like, because the rumours of him going to Real Madrid are starting to die out a little bit, aren't they? So, do they go to a midfield 4-3-3 instead of that kind of 4-2-3-1?
I think it's all dependent on whether they get Lo Celso. Like if they can get Lo Celso and keep Eriksen, then it's going to be surely a Lo Celso, Ndombele pivot with Eriksen sat in front of them, and then Son, Dele Alli, and Kane going forward as a 3. Like, which is super exciting, and Lo Celso is going to have to pivot his game somewhat back to his PSG days, because he's not going to be able to play in that massively attacking role
creating from deep
that he was for Betis, because Ndombele is going to want to progress. Eriksen's certainly going to play.
Lo Celso's a better attacking player than Ndombele is. Like,
so you'd have Ndombele as the reserve?
Well, no, I probably would move Lo Celso back, but Lo Celso this season was getting up to like 0.5 expected goals and assists per 90. Ndombele has never been anywhere near that. Like, he got a lot of assists this season, but that's partially because he plays with really, really good forwards. Don't get me wrong, he can create, but I think that's partially also the way that Liga works, and I'd expect that to go down a bit in the Prem.
And I also just back Poch to make it work. Like, I just back him to find a system that fits them all in, and whether or not on paper we're like, that looks a bit unbalanced.
Yeah, well, it's not too far removed from what it is like.
Winks and Sissoko feels unbalanced.
Lo Celso is going to be a massive upgrade on Winks, and Ndombele is going to be a massive upgrade on Sissoko. So you can sort of go with the same system, but it is dependent on who else they bring in. I personally really like the Rodri move. I think that they needed to make a signing of that calibre. They needed to replace Fernandinho with the right person in order to fend Liverpool off, because Liverpool are a Nicola Pepe away from, in my opinion, from going toe-to-toe yet again with Manchester City. But we spoke about Fernandinho as the most crucial component for Manchester City last term, and they've gone out and found the guy who profiles in a very, very similar way. I think Rodri racked up nearly 3,000 minutes last season in La Liga, so equated to around 34 games for Atleti. His defensive contribution was always excellent. I think over 4.5 tackles and interceptions a game, 9 ball recoveries as well, which was in the top 10 in Europe, I think. So just great anticipation. A lot of people touting him as the long-term heir to Busquets, when Barcelona were interested a year ago. I think the same sort of aerial duels as well. I think he completes around 3.5 long balls. So like Fernandinho, he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. Perhaps not as good as passing, or getting out of those scenarios, those tightly wound scenarios. But I'm sure that will come with a Pep education.
What do you think it signals the end for Ilkay Gundogan?
Not necessarily. Like, Gundogan and Fernandinho are actually very different stylistically to Rodri. Like, Rodri and Fernandinho accomplish similar things, but they do it in different ways. Like, Rodri is actually, he's pretty mobile, but he's not really going to run forward with the ball in the way that Fernandinho and Gundogan will. Like, both of those guys have been people who take the ball forward at feet. whereas Rodri's the guy who's going to pass, and that's kind of the model I think that Pep's been looking at. You know, when we've heard about, like, obviously it was Jorginho and Ruben Neves, people like that. I think I'm not really certain what's going to happen with Gundogan. Like, I don't really understand why it's been so kind of clear to so many people that he's going to be leaving. Like, I think they'll happily keep him for another year and maybe buy another midfielder next summer instead.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm super excited to see Rodri under Pep though.
Plus De Bruyne will be back.
Like,
so
he's going to get so much better under Pep. Like, no offense to Simeone, I love Simeone in terms of his defensive structure and how he sets up a team, but I think Rodri will have so many more facets to his game come the end of this season that we just wouldn't have thought about at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Because in a Simeone side, you have to be much more limited, right? Whereas Pep, I'm sure, will be asking, demanding more than he's ever given before from Rodri.
Yeah, well, I say better passer. I mean, Fernandinho completes more passes and his game is adapted to Pep's system, right? But Rodri's still got a 91% pass accuracy, almost clocking up, 50-something passes in a team that only averages 48% possession. So you imagine that those numbers are just going to go whoop.
And then
under Pep Guardiola.
And then they've bought in Angelino as well, haven't they? Still only 22, returning to the side. It doesn't seem like they're going to just shift him on. I thought they'd bought to sell, kind of in a Morata Real Madrid scenario, but kind of the unveiling and the photos with Begaristan and some of the chat from Pep kind of signals to me that's probably going to be a left-back signing for them as cover for Mendy.
Yeah, but then Zinchenko signed a new deal, and I don't really know what they're going to do with him. I just don't see him getting minutes at attacking mid. And I thought he was really good at left-back. Like, so unless their plan is to loan him out and see how he actually functions as an attacker with a view maybe to get more money for him later on, I think Pep really likes Zinchenko. But if I were him, I'd kind of look at the squad and think, where am I fitting in here? I don't know. It's a strange one, but maybe also the Angelino thing is kind of a message to the academy that, like, it's actually feasible that you might one day get a shot in the first team.
Yeah, I'll run through some other of the big signings. Wan-Bissaka to Man United, a few people said as one of the best signings of the summer so far.
It's a great signing, and I think it's like a really good price as well.
Yeah, 45 plus 5, I think it ended up being, given that they wanted 70 odd. In the end. By the way, we're not going to be chatting about Harry Maguire in this episode, obviously, not necessarily one of the best value, but we did on this week's podcast, so if you want to go and download Sunday Vibes Extra Time, you can do it by clicking the link in the description below. Also a couple of names, Pablo Fornals to West Ham, potentially one of the signings of the summer, people are saying.
You're a big fan of this as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, he's player who's very pleasing on the eye, isn't he? I think he was completing over a couple of dribbles last game of season, 1.5 key passes for a Villarreal side who really struggled for the majority of the La Liga campaign. I hope his numbers kind of hold up, or well, improve in fact, and I'm sure they will. Playing in that sort of new look front line. West Ham now need to go and find an Arnautovic replacement, don't they? They now need a focal point, a centre forward, because they've got, I think, Hugill is their only recognised forward. And
he's not there?
Yeah, they bought him for 14 mil, was it, from League One?
And they're still chasing Maxi Gomez?
Arnautovic is apparently, is it Maxi Rodriguez from Celta Vigo?
Maxi Gomez.
Maxi Gomez, sorry. Rodriguez is still, I like Fornals, but I mean, the Arsenal situation we discussed pretty heavily on the podcast as well, but obviously people will want us to touch upon it here. Wilfried Zaha, is it a good deal if it means that Lacazette has to go as well to fund it?
Probably not. Like, now the rumour is that Arsenal, which is kind of something we talked about, but Sky was saying, maybe Arsenal actually have more money to go for Zaha. I don't know, like, it's fine. I think Zaha would be pretty good for Arsenal. I don't think it'd be worth the huge fee, and I don't think it'd be worth letting Lacazette go. Like, if you could sell Lacazette, you could do so much more with that money. And to be honest, right now, we have so many young wingers, and I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Zaha, but at least we have guys in those positions. For me, priority is getting Tierney over the line, getting a couple of centre-backs over the line. Then you can think about these luxury players. And I think Tierney probably will get done.
Yeah,
it looks like it's going to drag on a bit because we're being dicks about it, but it'll happen.
Yeah, I think so as well. Across Europe, I think there have been some amazing signings as well. You mentioned him briefly, I think De Jong will be an absolute snip in about a year and a half. Like, people will look back at that fee and go, wow, how did they get him out with such a long contract left? Juventus have done outrageous business so far. Rabiot and Ramsey for £0.
The money tree just it's the gift that keeps on giving in Turin, isn't it? Like Rabiot might be coming in on a free, but he's getting an absolute wad in wages.
Yeah.
The league's getting an absolute wad in wages. What Higuain's going back to the club, Ronaldo's there. They've got 4 guys who are on like mega star.
I feel like there's going to be one big sale at Juve. I don't know whether it's going to be Dybala or who it's going to be.
I think they'll try and sell a bunch of squad guys though.
They just
Like,
surely
Tweedy
it's
like
so
well, right?
bloated.
João Cancelo could be
yeah,
massive. A big
60
pawn
odd
in
mil,
this
I think.
game. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
such a big loss. I really don't understand that. Like, but
But apparently
they-
Man City have pulled right back from that now, and like I've seen him really heavily linked to Bayern.
I mean, if you can get him for 50,
That
you
makes
get him
even
for
less
50,
sense.
don't you? It's
Yeah,
stupid.
definitely.
Yeah.
But can you imagine? I don't understand the Bayern links. Like I saw
What
that
about
this
Kimmich?
morning as well, and I was like, yeah, don't you have one of the best right backs in the world?
He's just had an incredible season at right back as well.
Yeah.
So weird.
Totally bizarre. Madrid have done some great business. You mentioned there, Jovic, Militao. I'm missing about 15 names off because they've signed so many
Eden Hazard.
players. Oh yeah, bloody Eden Hazard. Forgot about him.
That guy.
Not a bad
Full on
sign, is
Mendy
it?
as well though. They spent Full on Mendy cost a pretty penny. Like Full on Mendy didn't really cost that much less than Ndombele, which was a bit strange to me. As good, and I love Full on Mendy, but that was an interesting one. Amadou Diawara as well going to Roma as part of the deal, which took Manolas to Napoli.
Yeah.
That looked like a really
I saw
good
one
sign.
this morning.
Moves at the top of Italy.
One this morning, I think, is quite an interesting one. Rafa Guerreiro joining PSG
15 mil.
for £15 million.
Bargain.
Obviously, 1 year left on his current deal. We said that PSG
Maybe a fair
needed to
price,
upgrade in the fullback area.
Yeah, that's an upgrade, if he says fair.
Which seems like, on paper, it seems like an upgrade. And I'm sure Tuchel, having worked with him before, will know how to get the best out of him. Although I remember Tuchel kind of using him as a central midfielder at times.
Yeah, but that's when he had a lot of injuries. Like maybe he'll do that this season, but it feels like he's got a more complete central midfield roster than
especially with
than he did
Herrera
at
and
Dortmund.
Sarabia coming in for him already. So they've made 3 signings for 30 mil of Rafa, Guerreiro, Sarabia and Herrera.
And they're
which is
not
pretty smart business.
And they're not superstars. Like the chairman complaining about Neymar, they've followed that up with signing guys who are going to work hard to get in the team and probably keep those star players on their toes who maybe became a bit complacent at the end of last campaign. Shout out to Atletico Madrid as well. Very sensible replacement for Rodri is Llorente from Real Madrid.
Yeah, that was
like
good
in the limited minutes he's been given, he's kind of profiled a lot like Rodri.
But a less sensible replacement, Felix.
Oh god.
Oh.
Could be amazing. Could be could be
It
horrifically
feels
embarrassing.
like such a
Such
gamble.
a risk.
It's so weird.
It's such a risk. I mean, they've literally shit on Griezmann. Like, he's not even left the club. They've given his number away. Like, I think he's going to.
Can you blame them? Is the one player who deserves to be shit on more so than Griezmann?
True. Yeah, he's going to be. I think he'll be unveiled by Barcelona at some point this week. But equally, like
not a good
that
signing.
is so weird. That this summer has been mental.
It has.
Like Griezmann's gone to Barca for what 120
And we're still-
in the end.
Something like that.
We've still
Yao
got
Felix
4
has
weeks
gone
left.
120. Hazard's gone 120.
Yeah.
Like there's so many 120 million pound moves.
I opened my phone up this morning and just started going through it, and I was just like, all these crazy, like there were like 6 ridiculous moves
I know.
confirmed. Like, I was just scrolling through them, like, oh, that's happened, that's happened, that's happened, that's happened.
Lampard back to Chelsea
Yeah.
isn't even a thing now. People aren't even discussing it.
Yeah,
Because
people
of
are
the
like, oh,
transfer
well, of
market.
course Frank Lampard's gone back to Chelsea. It's like,
Yeah.
what? That has actually really cheered me up. Arsenal not having made a signing, Chelsea signing Frank Lampard is at least some good news.
Not a fan.
Well, I think he might be fine, but there's not a lot of wiggle room at Chelsea this season. They can't make signings. They're losing their best player, and they're bringing in a guy who was okay in the Championship last season in his very first season as a manager. If I were a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't be delighted about it.
I can see
so
the
as an Arsenal
arguments,
fan, I
though.
am.
I can see the arguments as to
So-
why people are like, this is the perfect time to appoint it.
Yes, no, completely. But
Because expectations are low.
Yeah.
yeah, and also like they've got a year where like they could potentially be. So it's nice to have a face the fans love to help them sell being.
And bring you through, yeah.
But tell me that as a United fan, you don't think this massively increases your chances of getting top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, 100%.
Yeah, you've got a guy who's been going toe to toe with Juventus 2-3 years prior to that, only just securing 4th. Like, only just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you have Frank Lampard, who did not improve Derby despite all the fanfare, despite all the positive PR. Like, apparently, I spoke to a couple of Derby fans. Like, what he did really well was create a good relationship between the fans and the club had become a little bit poisonous. Like, the general atmosphere was much more
It's
better,
Solskjaer,
much more
right?
conducive to getting promoted, but then delivered the same amount of points as McLaren, pretty much.
Yeah.
They conceded, I think a couple more goals, was it?
I think they were like 6 goals different or something.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Are there any other moves we're missing? We're missing potentially the Dortmund boys, like Julian Brandt coming in for 20 mil. We have spoken about it in the past.
Yeah, Dortmund have they overpaid for Hummels, but I suppose you could argue that they massively underpaid for Brandt and Hazard. So fair enough. I don't think Weigl will go. It looks like they'll keep all their centre backs. They'll be fine.
But Weigl, I saw Weigl linked with Arsenal and PSG, and apparently it's only going to take like 23 to 28 million euros to get him out of the club. Would you not just take a punt on him for that? Because of the player he used to be 2
Grim
years
injury
ago?
record.
If I were going to sell Xhaka, if I could bring in Weigl and sell Xhaka, yeah, I'd be absolutely delighted with that. But having Weigl and Xhaka in the side, it feels like you've got two versions of the same player, both reasonably immobile kind of distributors from the base of midfield. You need protection around them. So if Arsenal brought him in, got rid of Xhaka, and then got in a more energetic midfielder to sit alongside him with Torreira and Guendouzi, some combo, that'd be pretty fun.
Because I feel like the opinion we have of Rodri now, well, certainly my opinion is similar to that which I had of Weigl 2 years ago. Potentially this elite playmaker or deep lying playmaker in midfield, and his stock has just fallen right off, hasn't it?
It feels like the Ruben Neves thing. Ruben Neves was linked with every big club, and then profile at Porto went down until eventually he could go for a pittance to Wolves. And maybe that will happen with Weigl. He was playing centre back at stages last season, so maybe now you can get him for 25 million euros. Somebody a mid-table Premier League club will do it, and then in a couple of years it'll be maybe he'll go to Man City for 60 mil.
Yeah, I think another name, I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but it's as good as, is Yuri Tielemans going to Leicester for 40 million, which is just outrageous business.
That really completes
I don't know
that
how
midfield.
they've managed to fend off heavy interest from Manchester United and Tottenham.
Yeah.
It made so much sense for him to go to Tottenham. Tottenham could have probably bought
I think
him
he was the backup
instead of Lo Celso, and saved themselves £35 million. And I don't think their output would have differed too much. I do think Lo Celso's a more well-rounded player, he's a better attacking player than Tielemans. Although Tielemans wasn't he Monaco's second top goal scorer over the course of last season?
He's not that much of a defender.
For 6 months.
Tielemans,
But they're thinking that Maddison's going to provide the attacking output for them.
But Tielemans' role is passing in that midfield.
Yeah,
Indeed, he does the defending. Tielemans does a bit of everything, but mostly passing, and then Maddison does the creation.
Yeah.
That's such a fun midfield.
Yeah, and then you've got Chowdhury to rotate. Under Rodgers, that's as good as it gets.
Chowdhury looks like an interesting little player. So I don't know. It feels like
they have a more complete midfield roster than some of the top six.
I'd still argue they have a more complete midfield than Spurs, even after the Ndombele signing. Certainly than Arsenal, and probably borderline Chelsea.
Well, and Man United. You've got Pogba aside.
Definitely Arsenal and United.
Pogba aside, yeah. Ridiculous that Yuri Tielemans has moved with such little interest.
I mean, James Maddison created the most chances in the Premier League campaign, and then you've got
Ndidi right up there with the defensive powerhouse.
Ndidi, who managed to pip Idrissa Gueye by one tackle last season to be the most elite tackler in Europe. Yeah, and they could feasibly be there. That's what I was about to say, for another 7-8 years.
So Maddison's how old? 22.
They're both 22.
And Yuri's.
I think he's 22 as well.
So 3 22-year-olds. Chowdhury's probably in that bracket, 21 as well.
Yeah, he's just come back from the Euros, hasn't he?
So
Pereira's 25, 26, but Chilwell's 22. Then they've got Suyuncu, Benkovic. Then in attack they've got Iheanacho still 22. Demarai Gray is very young as well. If they bring in Ozzy Perez is 25. He's not young, but he's not old.
Yeah, the Ozzy Perez move, by the way, seems like it's happened at more like £16 million than the 30 that was first reported. So a lot of people were like, "This is the worst move of the summer. 30 mil, what are we doing?" 16 mil, it's just riskless backup, isn't it?
I just don't buy.
And there's been a little change in. Harry Maguire's actually handed in a transfer request, hasn't he?
There's a few rumours that, I think the Leicester Mercury said that he might have.
It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like something he would do, but then this is also the route that Mahrez had to take to get out of Leicester, because it's extremely hard to get out of Leicester.
And I can imagine Leicester being the sort of club that are like, look, we will sell you, Harry, but for our publicity, we need you to hand in a transfer request. If you hand in a transfer request, then it looks like, you know what, he wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just like a bit of PR game.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, their transfer policy is so joined up, isn't it? So I wouldn't be surprised if they said to Harry Maguire, similar to Mahrez, they don't want to go and get a replacement in 4 or 5 weeks. That transfer department want to take a year to find a Harry Maguire replacement. So I can imagine them saying, give us next season.
But next season,
we'll find a guy to replace you.
At 26, United are like, all right, it, we'll spend it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think the difference between 26 and 27 is quite
Yeah.
big. Same with Wilf Zaha. If Wilf Zaha doesn't go this summer, I don't think he'll ever go. Like for the price.
United was sniffing around a 28, 29-year-old Toby Alderweireld, like an injury-prone one at that as well, for 25 mil. So, yeah, maybe this is the point where
that's like a third of the price.
Less to get the most money.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But
mil, man.
next season it might come down 10, 15
This
mil.
feels like the summer that Mahrez left it. Like, for me, yeah. I personally see Maguire I think Maguire will be a United player by the end of the summer. Like, I'd be really surprised if he's not now.
It looks like it'll happen some way.
But yeah, like I said anyway.
Everyone's a winner.
Go listen to the podcast. Really. Yeah, everybody's a winner. Like Man United get an improved centre back, but pay a massively inflated fee. Leicester get a massively inflated fee, and Harry Maguire gets massively inflated wages.
Unlike the Wilf Zaha scenario, where it feels like everyone is a loser at the moment.
Yeah.
Like Arsenal have to cash in on one of their best players. Does he improve the attacking output significantly? No. Is he kind of what you need now? Yes, but not at the expense of selling one of your forwards. And Crystal Palace have to give 25% of the fee to Manchester United, of course.
And Zaha.
That's why they want 80 mil.
Torches his relationship with the club he's been at since he was a kid. Like, I mean, it's just it's a bit
for a second time after leaving for Man United.
And it's not like he's going to win a title with Arsenal. Like, it's pretty miserable all round.
Yeah, do that in depth though, don't we, on the podcast? So.
Yeah, go and download it now. Let's move on to quickfire questions. Before we move on, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on. Let's go to quickfire questions then. The first was sent in by Haz Kareem. He says, with the signings made by Atletico and Real, does it put them in a better stance for the league, given that Barca's core is ageing and has barely been touched?
Atleti certainly not.
Atleti, miles off.
Have Atleti got better?
Miles worse.
Like they've
entire defence is gone. The best central midfielder, other than potentially Saul, has gone. Your striker, only striker who scores goals, has gone.
Do you know what I like about the Rodri move as well? That they paid the buyout clause and they have to give the 70 million to Rodri, don't they? Yeah. And Rodri has to pay the 70 million to the club. Yeah. Imagine checking that your internet banking.
I know.
I'll be like, what the f happened last night?
£75 million. Yeah, I think that Atleti have gone miles backwards, and I actually disagree with the statement that Barca haven't improved their core. I think simply by signing Frenkie de Jong, you have tenfold improved your core because he can do so much for the side.
Yeah.
And
their major issue.
Okay, yes, they might have missed out on De Ligt, but surely that comes as a positive to a Samuel Umtiti if you're sat there thinking, oh, that's probably the end of me if they sign De Ligt.
Griezmann does improve the side, but it's bittersweet because it feels like it'd come at the expense of Ousmane Dembele, and we all love Ousmane Dembele, and he's going to prosper at another club. I mean, this might mean that, for Liverpool going for Ousmane Dembele, in order for Barcelona to secure, Griezmann and someone else.
I've just got images of him.
They're massive winners.
I've definitely got images of Bayern. Ousmane Dembele ending up in Bavaria.
And Chelsea would definitely have bought Coutinho if they weren't banned from the transfer market. 100%.
Yeah. I think Barca have an okay summer, and I think Frenkie de Jong will probably turn out to be the best buy of the summer of any club. So I disagree with that statement. I think Atletico have gone miles backwards by selling 3 of their 4 defenders and the entire spine. It's irreplaceable.
And Real still have to address a big issue, that central midfield zone. Right?
And unless they get Pogba, which they might not get. If they don't get Pogba, then they've had an okay summer.
Yeah, or Eriksen, like we mentioned.
So I kind of disagree with that statement. Kay Saunders says, in honour of AFCON, who's your favourite African player of all time?
Yours is Yaya Toure, isn't it?
Probably Yaya.
It's got to be Yaya for you.
I really love Yaya Toure. I just think he's. But when I was a kid, I also loved JJ Okocha.
Yes.
That Nigerian team was sick.
The Nigerian team that won the Olympics as well, that beat Brazil. Was it 4-3? I think in one of just such a memorable game, and no one gave them a chance that tournament because I know the criticism that was levelled, at them, good physically, but not, intelligent footballer, and they just went and proved the world wrong, didn't they?
Samuel Eto'o for me, by the way.
I mean, moments of Kanu's career, some of the stuff he's done, Kanu, unbelievable. But no, Kolo probably,
Kolo Toure.
Just seeing him in the dugout in a Celtic strip, with a notebook, thinking, what am I doing here?
Yeah, Sammy Eto'o for me. At those Inter Milan days, really, more than anything. Just because he used to be such a weapon on FIFA. mainly. Also, like he was obviously a rival, but like hard not to like put Didier Drogba up there still. Like I know that
it's hard not to.
I wouldn't put him up there because I'm a Man United fan and he's a Chelsea player, but you've got to respect him.
Top African goal scorer in the Champions League, isn't there? So I mean, most people's answer is going to be Drogba or Yaya Toure, I'd imagine.
Or George Weah, maybe.
George Weah.
If they're a bit older.
I don't really remember
Sammy
George
Kuffour. Yeah, it's a little bit of a
Yeboah.
Talking of...
Yeboah was sick, actually. That does deserve a shout. Like when I hear the name Yeboah, all I see is a ball, hitting the bar and going in.
Also, just going to put some respect on Eric Jemba's name. Let's go to Jolie Moley next, who says, can Chelsea finish in the top 4 solely relying on youth players and the squad they already have? We touched on it with Frank there. Do we think it's deep enough?
They can. I don't think
Mason
they will.
Mount's still there. Ruben Loftus-Cheek signed a new deal, but coming back late. Hudson-Odoi coming back late. No striker, really.
I feel like we've covered this pretty extensively. We've covered it pretty well, haven't we? But it's going to be really fun for the neutral. It's going to be like Chelsea fans, they've just hated Sarri for the last 6 months, so there's a sense of relief having someone they like in charge. But like, there's just no guarantees with Chelsea this season, is there? There's no guarantees. It's going to be topsy-turvy.
Yeah. Their best hope is that Arsenal and Man United are just dog, which is like not necessarily a bad thing to put your faith in. Yeah. But I don't know, unless Pulisic arrives and goes absolutely supernova, or Hudson-Odoi comes back mid-season and genuinely is like a £50 million winger right now.
That's going to make such a difference, not having him from the offset.
Yeah.
Because then you're still reliant on Willian, aren't you?
Yeah. Next one from Lucas Rowe. He says, which young talent from the last 5 seasons has let you down the most? Example, Emre Moore. I'll kick us off here.
That's a bit sad.
For me, Adnan Januzaj. Adnan Januzaj in that season under David Moyes for about 6 months, I just thought he was the bee's fucking knees.
Messi
and there were people, I think even Pep came out and was like bigging him up. Adnan Januzaj as being like the next big thing.
And now he is like 24-ish. So
yeah, and is he still at Sociedad?
Yeah, but he was really good last season, but then he got injured and that kind of like curtailed his progress.
There was moments in that first season, I remember really vividly the 2 goals against Sunderland away, and one of them was that like whipping volley. And I thought, bloody hell, we've got the new Giggsy.
Yeah. Didn't the other one, he took it like first time?
Yeah, but it just didn't turn out. Didn't turn out the way I'd hoped. So yeah, I think that was pretty heartbreaking for me.
So, some of these it's difficult with the last 5 years because some of these, like progress isn't linear. There are players who became good at 24, 25, and like for ages I've bigged up Kelechi Iheanacho. He's 22 still.
Yeah.
Like I mean, if he was 25, I'd be prepared to write him off, but there are any number of players who were like pretty worthless till they hit 23 and then suddenly got decent. So I don't know who's there from like 5 years back.
God, I'm really struggling.
Do you know what I'm thinking of? One.
Goetze.
I actually can't remember his name. He went to Chelsea. I think he is still floating about. He's one of the Chelsea boys. I think he went to Werder Bremen.
Marco Marin.
Marco Marin, mate. At one stage, Marco Marin on FIFA was doing madness.
Yeah, he is 29, I think. He's playing for Red Star.
He fell off a cliff. He was hyped to fuck.
Yeah, because he was in that. But he was in that Werder Bremen team that was with like that was like Aaron Hunt and Mesut Ozil.
Gael Kakuta. Throw another one at you. Do you remember Big Gael? Chelsea took a 6-month ban off the back of his signing.
Jesus.
And I don't know, I think he's still playing France. There was the young...
Yeah, he's had a bit of a journeyman career since.
Yeah.
All over the place.
But he was, like, seriously hyped. I think he was
I don't think the fact that he was signed illegally helped him.
Yeah, definitely.
Unwarranted kind of press, I think. I mean, Emre Moore is a good shout. I wonder if Pione Sisto will ever get a move out of Celta Vigo. If there's something that, that is just putting top clubs off of him. John Guidetti.
Oh God!
I really want them to sign on a permanent with Celtic.
Really?
Yeah, and he didn't. He just had the attitude of an elite level attacker, like the swagger. Let's not say attitude,
but didn't have the ability.
Not the ability to manage. I want them to have both desperately. But yeah, I think John Cadet is the best. Yeah, that's a poor answer from me, but we'll move on.
Let's go on to a personal question then to finish up. This one was sent in by Ross McBride. We're obviously short on personal questions this week, so if you've got good personal questions for us, make sure you follow us on Twitter. Send them next week. We usually get questions on about Tuesday, Wednesday. You can submit them there. One of us 3 will put out a tweet. Ross McBride says, "What's your favourite meme?" It's the only one I've got written down here.
Oh.
I mean, it was always going to be a tough act to follow. What was your favourite computer game from last week? That was genuinely one of the best. Ooh, one of the best questions we've been given. The favourite meme?
Favourite meme? I mean, they go so quickly, don't they? Come and go so quickly that it's hard to have them.
They do. I always laugh when I see, you know, that child with the really small head, and he's being like, his head's like resting in that guy's hand, and his eyes are just filled with horror as he gets pulled down.
How broadly are we defining meme? Can it just be like a clip that went around or something that you always think of?
Yeah,
or
why
does
don't
it
we
need
do
to be
that?
like, or does it need to be an edited one with text over it, like classic meme style?
Let's pivot to like our favourite viral clip.
Because I always think of that one, you know, the guy, the courtroom one where the woman's reading it out and he says, "You said, girl, you're thicker than a bowl of oatmeal," and it goes over to him and he's like, "That's so good." And also, I've saved to my phone the image of Kolasinac from that new Arsenal advert where he says, "Yes, my G." I've got that saved to my phone because it makes me laugh so much.
I like the wow,
Yeah.
wow, because it's so applicable in so many situations.
I just miss Vine, man. I miss Yeet on Vine.
Oh my god, yeah,
I was like, surprise, motherfucker. That's some fries, motherfucker.
That's good.
That is proper good. And the Vinny Company kid, like when that just resurfaces.
Oh yeah, that freak kid with a massive head.
Freak is probably a bit harsh, but it's spot on pretty much. So,
Huge his head was.
Yeah, like an absolute shield. You could take that into battle.
Size of his body.
Oh my god.
50% head to body ratio.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
bizarre.
hopefully not got anything seriously wrong with him. So.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But
pretty
he's a little as well,
Jimmy
wasn't he?
Neutron.
He's a little.
Oh, that
He
guy.
used to run at the camera and hit the camera.
The guy from the little kid from Nollywood, from Nigerian Hollywood. You know when he's like, oh, he's got such.
Don't do the accent.
No, he's so good. Oh, you're gonna have to put him up on screen.
There's also a little fat kid. Do you remember him?
The bacon kid.
Yeah,
The
what-
bacon is good for me, kid.
Oh.
That's Olivia Dodd's favourite.
No, he's the chicken nuggets kid. I'm thinking
Jesus
of.
Christ.
I am thinking of that.
You're
Bacon
thinking
is good
of,
for me.
You're not the queen of.
You're not the queen in this house,
Yeah,
She
what's
came
it
in
called, Curtis
here.
or something?
Yeah, she
That
came
kid.
in here.
He's
What's his name? King?
He's such a redneck.
Acting like her. Acting like she knew everything. I am leaving, Joyce. That one, yeah, that's a good one. Either
What
way,
is his name?
Curtis.
Curtis.
King
Yeah,
Curtis.
yeah.
That's it.
shout out Curtis as well in Love Island, just ruining Amy's life. Either way, thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions next week, slam them in the comments or get us on Twitter. What else should people do? Watch?
What a horrible
Feel.
last 2 minutes that was. Feel? You need to calm down.
Jesus.
Squad Goals is rebranded. It is now Squad Goals, not FDFC, so go and check out the latest. Awkward FIFA, go check out the latest Squad Goals, and I think Zach has a new project coming soon. And Olivia's done a podcast, right?
Yeah, The Game's Gone Mad. Make sure that you search for that on your podcast app and download it, because it's a good episode. Pete Dorman back from his many, many holidays.
Bye.